So before we begin meditating this morning, we'd like to offer some reflection on compassion. There's so much going on now for all of us, and anxiety has been rising and rising for so many. In some sense, anxiety and compassion are competing for the main seat at the table in our psyches. Yeah. Certainly, a lot of compassion needs to come forth as well. But the thing about anxiety, the thing about these up energies that we're feeling, the more stressful energies, is it's not exactly that they're mutually exclusive of compassion, but sometimes it's harder to feel deeply into compassion when anxiety or stress or that kind of self-preservative, self-protective, fight or flight, stressful orientation is there in the heart and mind. There's not so much room for compassion. We can think compassion from that space, but not necessarily drop in to feel it. And so, and in order to do that, in order to access compassion more deliberately, more fully, we need to soften our own hearts a little. There's a lot of speak for myself, but more constriction in this whole area, from the throat, the chest area, the heart area. There's more tightness here, and they say that compassion is like a quivering of the heart in the face of suffering. But when there's too much constriction, in this area as well, which also is wanting to be there, the heart is quivering in a different way. Yeah. It's quivering a little bit more with fear. And so we'll spend a little time on that this morning in our meditation a bit later. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We have to meet ourselves where we are and grow compassion from there. We can't manufacture emotions, and we can't get rid of them. But we can set up the conditions to support compassion arising. I think the plain stewards, they have a great line, a great words of wisdom for us. Put the oxygen mask on yourself before you help anyone else. Before you help your beloved, before you help a child, before you help an elder. Put the oxygen mask on yourself. Before, during, and after helping others. And we have to learn how to do that, because most of us just give and give and give, and then we feel depleted. And the idea is, how do we keep replenishing right along while we're offering? And that requires, as Bill's saying, learning how to soothe, the high art of soothing ourselves. So when I was on my long retreat, there was a phrase that came to me in my practice. It was like a little instruction. Ground, breathe, calm, settle, soothe. I found that those words started coming to me, and I was like sitting there rocking because I was in some kind of storm. And I realized my body is rocking, and I'm feeling the body settling on the ground, and I'm breathing and calming, settling, and soothing. There, my darling. There, my darling. And the ability to do that is what then allows us, gives us space to be able to offer out. Yeah. So maybe I'll pause there.
And at some point, right, maybe you've already experienced this, but with 6 degrees of separation, it's going to touch all of us. the nature of this, the nature of this. And we just found out recently, for example, that our spiritual daughter, who lived with us for 4 years, and who's one of the hardiest, has one of the hardiest immune systems in her 30s, never had a cold in 4 years with us, has just had a fever for she's had a fever for 2 weeks, it's the sickest she's been in her whole life. She is beginning to recover, it looks like now. Yeah. And last night we found out a dear friend, a long-term meditator in her 70s, has been symptomatic for a couple of weeks, pretty intense symptoms. She sent us an email and said, there are moments that I am able to experience equanimity, but I'm also working with fear in a way that I haven't in a long time. And so it is. And so it will be for all of us in one way or another as we move through these spaces together in this time together. Yeah.